Hello, nerds and future nerds. Welcome back to the VF Comics podcast. This week, we're going to change up our structure just a little bit moving forward to help you find and look forward to all kinds of books that are coming out each month. So this week, we are going to focus on letting you know about some of the best comics, in our opinion, coming out in February, so you can go into your local shop well informed. This week I have with me Megan.
Hey, I was expecting more, so I just...
And James.
Hello.
This is the first time...
I didn't have an introduction written down or anything insulting to say, so I just
names,
said your names.
Okay. Weird.
If it makes you feel better, because I didn't prep for the two of you, that's an insult in itself, and that I didn't think enough of you to prep.
Wow, that's nice.
That's harsh.
See, I told you. Whether I prepare or not, I'm mean. Did you guys have a good week?
Yeah.
Do anything special?
Pretty good. Nothing special.
Nothing special?
Just got a lot of back issues coming in and out. Other than that, just doing business.
I've been trying to collect a bunch of Frankenstein books from DC, and I picked up the first 5 issues of Gotham City Monsters from you this week, and I already read the first issue today, actually, and it's really good. It's, it's not the highest art form, but it's Steve Orlando, and it's monsters, so that's my kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
good
also...
monster books, always appreciated.
Also this week, when I was by the shop, Napoleon Dynamite was on the TV, and it's a part where Napoleon is, for the Future Farmers America, he's taste testing milk, which I always thought was silly, but is apparently a real thing.
It is. I knew that.
Oh, see, I didn't, but James did. But he said he never taste tested milk, but he did do something else. What? And I want the world to know.
Yeah, I was a proud FFA member back in my youth. I sported the fashionable purple corduroy jacket. I used to do meat judging. Meat judging.
Oh no! Well, that's something.
That is also a thing. My thing was that we would go to slaughterhouses and basically look at different cuts of meat and grade them based on quality. Which it isn't that far removed, I guess, from being someone who can grade comics, but you would look at them for different characteristics, marbling, fat on the outside. You had, different things that you looked for, and it was like, oh, that's a great steak, or that's a great tongue, or whatever.
Oh my god! Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, all the cuts. Cool. You graded all the cuts, so you had like all kinds of exotic cuts from the cow that you would get.
Of all the nerdy things I've known of people doing, grading meat at that level might be the nerdiest thing I've ever heard.
In high school. But, FFA was all about, teaching you how to do things or preparing you to do things in the agriculture business. I was from a rural area, a lot of farming, and uh, that was just kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it was one of the highlights of my high school years.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
mainly because you always got to go on these like really cool
Yeah.
trips and stuff, where you would
See some-
you would go to the local slaughterhouse or to the local university,
Oh
or
my.
wherever, and you would participate in these competitions, and it was always fun. It was there was a lot of clowning around and stuff also. We were
Sure.
high school kids. We had a guy who on our team, it seemed it never failed for him to whenever we were judging, they would have all the different meats laid out, and there was always a tongue laid out, and without fail he would always like somehow get a hold of that tongue and put it in his zipper and run around and make jokes about
What?
it. So
Okay.
just little things like that.
Yeah. Normal high school experiences.
Oh, and also for a bunch of country boys, from South Arkansas, it never failed that we would go to this competition at the University of Arkansas, and we'd stay at a hotel room. And it was just known that if you were able to, succeed in your regional judging, you would be able to go to this competition in Fayetteville. And the big draw was that the hotel that you stayed in every year always had porn,
What?
and it was
You gotta make
it
sure to
was
mark this
like
as a
it was
not for
just
children
known.
episode.
What?
It was just known,
It
and
was
so
just
it was
known.
like it was just your, I guess your incentive for making it to state, and
Listen, boys, if you judge this meat good enough and get us
You're
to
gonna get to
state,
judge some real
I'm gonna
meat.
let you
Oh.
watch
but
porn.
you have to, but
Judge
I mean, it wasn't just the meat people; it was like the milk people and the egg people, and the,
Yeah.
all of us who would do these things. I don't know why y'all are laughing, because this is just like straight up,
Awesome.
It's
stuff
just something we didn't know
It
about
sounds
you.
straight up like something that would
City
happen in my high
folk.
school. So
City folk.
I am from.
God.
No, I am not.
You can't
say
call
that about
anyone
me.
in Arkansas city folk, to be honest.
I'm from a town with 2,000
Oh.
people. I grew up in a cow pasture, so
Well, that's
Anyway,
great, because
that
James
was
used
the
to
thing.
judge your cows
Yeah.
after they took them apart.
good.
Yeah, it was really it was really fun being involved in FFA and everything. I mean, it was
That's amazing.
whenever I saw Napoleon Dynamite for the first time and I saw that, I was like, I bet that is so alien to people, that's
yeah, a
happening.
little bit.
It was.
It's like that like brought back tons of
Oh
memories
my
for
god,
me.
it was just
from,
actually based off
I
of
love
James's
as a
life.
kid.
That I got to find out so much more about you from being up at the shop at the right time.
That makes me so happy.
And to know, I know James was good at it because he was so proud to tell me that this was something that he used to do.
Beautiful.
He was just like smiling ear to ear, like, "Oh yeah, I didn't do that, but I used to judge."
And it wasn't
meat."
just meat or whatever, those types of things. We would also learn things about parliamentary procedure, which is like, kind of how the government
Mhm.
works, and about how to kind of conduct business from a parliamentary perspective, and learning things about leadership and all that. So it was that was just kind of what we did. That was our thing.
It's really, really cool to know that. Like, I mean, James, were you thinking of going into that before you got into comics?
Going into meats,
Yeah.
no, I never really thought of it.
You
I just
said that.
I never thought of that. I was just thinking, if you ever need to have somebody pick you out a good steak at the grocery store,
Hell yeah.
So,
I'm taking you with me.
Open invitation to our listeners. If you want to go to our social media and post a picture of your meat in the next couple of weeks, I will have James look at it and grade it. So I expect to see some really good meat on our comic page.
It's just like, I like to think that you're making a joke here.
No, I kind
you're
of
not real. You're not realizing exactly what you're saying to the internet.
Oh,
Right
Babby
Nope,
Marcus.
the internet.
He's so sweet.
Nope. I know what I'm saying to the internet, and I welcome their responses.
I do not. Unless you are literally sending pictures of steak. I do not.
So, anyways, we're going to move on. I just wanted to let everyone know a little bit more about
God.
James
Woo!
by bringing that up. And I think that's really interesting. I am going to be eating steak. Next time I eat steak, I'm taking James with me. In fact, I'm going to buy his steak if he's going to help me pick out something like
There you
that.
go.
Is that acceptable, James?
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, I didn't think you would be upset. So before we get the last thing I want to do before we get into what's coming out in February, I'm just going to run through real quick a couple pieces of news and upkeep. The first is that this most recent week, DC Comics has announced the death of the Justice League, and they're trying to make a big deal out of this. Everyone listening, I'm sure, is rolling their eyes. But of note to me was that the Justice League members, because they say this is on top of the Justice League dying, it's going to be the last issue of Justice League for the foreseen future. Yeah, we'll see. But by doing that, I also noticed on the cover arts and some of the descriptions, it's focused on classic Justice League members instead of the current roster that includes Naomi and Black Adam and some of the stranger new characters they've introduced to the team. And I just thought that was a little weird. Maybe it has something to do with the Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes book. But yeah,
I doubt it.
yeah. James, how long do you think before the Justice League comes back?
History tells me that it'd probably be maybe about a year or two, if we're lucky. I mean, I'm kind of maybe optimistic about this a little bit in that there may be some sort of overall plan that's going on that I've always kind of thought over these last few years that DC really hasn't had a plan. They've kind of been making these decisions periodically that would kind of upset the apple cart, and then you would hear about something coming down the road, and then it kind of only half happens, and
Like
so
5G turned into future state.
Yeah. So anything ambitious that they're rolling out that they might actually stick with, I'm okay with, because I think there needs to be some shakeups. If they, if this is a part of a larger plan, that being, Superman, Son of Kal-El, and a lot of these younger characters that have been introduced along the way, stepping into more prominent roles on the Justice League, that would be interesting. That would be, I would like to see how that would play out. It seems like DC has a hard time committing to things, and if they get the sense that things aren't working exactly the way that they want it to, they kind of back out, and it's kind of a mess at that point. So, it'd be cool if we had a major sea change on the Justice League along the lines of how they did the X-Men back in the day, or do something completely different. There just needs to be some shakeups.
It makes me wonder if they're bringing some of their 5G idea back, where new heroes take on the mantles, something they did in Future State, and something they also did in that Deceased book, where eventually John took over as Superman and Damian took over as Batman. Granted, that was like an alternate universe zombie book, but it was cool seeing some of the younger characters take over very permanently those legacy mantles in that book.
Yeah, they can't keep treating Kal-El as this sacred cow that they can sideline, but they can't really get rid of, or it's to the point now where it would be nice if they could maybe push the Superman mythos beyond that, uh, mainly because it just nobody's really been able to figure out a good way of doing it, in years, probably since Grant Morrison's
and I think
All-Star Superman.
Son of Kal-El has been like maybe testing waters for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. That's possible. And I mean, just think about it. You have a new Justice League with, the with the Son of Kal-El, you have, Nightwing, or one of the other mini Robins, or
Yeah, but say bring the
and kind
Super
of,
Sons back, Damian and John. Very different dynamic from Bruce and Clark.
and well, I'm thinking more of the like guys who are like actually stepping into the larger role. I mean, like uh, you have a lot of these younger characters that could step up, and in a world without these older characters, you're having a younger generation kind of step in and try to figure out their way of filling those shoes. Uh, from a team perspective, that would be really interesting. Uh, but then I look down the road and I see that we have a new World's Finest, which seems to involve
Just 3 months before this event, yeah.
Yeah, so it's you just wonder, you know, there's just a lot of uh, indecision in editorial over there. I think that they're trying to hold on to the purists while also trying to move forward, and those things don't always, jive together whenever you're dealing with a shared universe. And
Yeah.
it's, that's DC continuity. I mean,
Well,
that they've been trying to do that for decades. So I don't know. Hopefully they're just good stories. So
yep.
we'll see.
Yeah. And hopefully that I'm hoping DC does that. Even if I honestly like sometimes DC's best stuff, not only is their non-continuity stuff, but when even their in shared universe stuff kind of ignores it. Like when Batman doesn't call Superman, um, during some big event. Like sometimes it's okay to ignore it for the sake of a story. The only other piece of news that I thought was interesting, and this has been rumored and talked about a bit, was Hasbro is taking Transformers and GI Joe away from IDW. So IDW for the first time in looks like I think time wise, and they've been publishing Transformers and GI Joe for the last 15 or so years, and they're not going to be anymore. Which sucks for fans of the current arcs in Transformers. I know they just kind of had a major reboot in the last year or two, and as a fan of the current Beast Wars comic, hearing that is going to end is frustrating because it's been a really cool like reimagining of the Beast Wars show without being connected to the other Transformer books. Um, James, I assumed as a GI Joe fan, you might have an opinion on this.
IDW has been operating under, I guess, Hasbro's, direction on this stuff. I assume, and you know, the GI Joe franchise has been sort of stuck in this middle ground of, do we want to make it for kids? Do we want to make it uh, for the old fans? It's been kind of a mixed bag at IDW. I mean, the GI Joe Transformers book that they did a while back was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was a great book, one of my favorites, and it was something completely different and completely off the wall, and that was probably what made it so great. Whenever they've tried to sort of cater to the old school fans, they brought back Larry Hama. He's been on A Real American Hero now for quite a while over at IDW, who's been kind of carrying the flag for the old fans and the more traditional GI Joe fan. That franchise is very much stuck right now in this sort of contradiction of being a toy property that involves guns and military and fighting, and in a more modern uh, in our modern society, that's kind of a difficult spot to be in. And I've always felt like that Hasbro is going to have to at some point come to grips with that and understand that they're going to have to either cut bait or go all in on making it a more mature book. uh, that's just that's just how it is. And whenever you read Larry Hama's stuff on a real American hero. It's really good stuff, and it's smart, and it's what Larry Hama has always been good at. But I feel like that there's another step that needs to be taken, and if it is going to Skybound, which is Robert Kirkman's imprint, that would that seems to indicate to me that maybe Hasbro's ready to do that, to maybe step it up a
That's what I was
notch.
thinking, because Skybound has been telling some always told mature stories. Obviously, Robert Kirkman's famous for writing The Walking Dead, but I know I'm also reading Firepower from them. It's very good, but they put
Hmm.
out some pretty violent, crazy stuff, and some people were speculating that it was odd that it's going to Skybound instead of Marvel, which, because Hasbro seemed to have a good some sort of relationship with Marvel. Um, but I think going to
Yeah,
Skybound seems promising.
and Marvel wants, they have no real interest in it.
Oh,
I
I'm sure they
couldn't
don't.
imagine them having interest in that, just because they've got plenty that they
Yeah.
can utilize in that area. I think that with Skybound, you're gonna get some quality people, that know that franchise, that can also sort of take it to the next level. I think that, ultimately it's all in Hasbro's court. What do they want? What are they willing to take a risk on? And I just feel like they're going to have to, take that property to a more mature level that would allow them, from a company standpoint, they're interested in selling toys, and nobody really sells a lot of toys to kids anymore. Let's face it. Most of these kids are on phones and playing
I
video
have
games
more
and such.
toys that now as an adult than I did as a child.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
now, it would allow them to move into the new marketplace for that kind of stuff, including video games and TV, movies, whatever, that can actually be successful. Um, and having somebody like Kirkman there to sort of shepherd that would be really cool, because he knows how to operate across platforms, comics, TV, movies.
Mhm.
He's been there and has a lot of experience with it. So uh, I see, if that comes to pass, I see it as a good thing.
And before we move on to things for February, I do want to say, to finish off, I'm gonna guess right now that if Skybound gets it, I think we'll get a one shot Walking Dead G.I. Joe crossover. And if they aren't thinking about that right now, I want them to know that they need to do it. And
That would suck.
I just because I just want to see where they would go with something like that.
I like I like Robert Kirkman, but my my Walking Dead uh, enthusiasm really took a hit these last few seasons of Walking Dead,
Oh yeah, no,
and
show wise,
and
I
with and with the comic being gone. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I just hope that they focus on a good GI Joe story.
And yeah, it just I hope they know what to do, and knowing is half the battle. Um, the other half is drawing and writing it. So, now let's get into the fun and exciting world of stuff coming out. And as usual for February, I have a lot of stuff on my list. And so the way I'm going to focus on it is I'm just going to quickly mention some titles of books that you will definitely hear me reviewing throughout the month that I already have on a pull list. And then I'm going to break down some new books or some things that I'm not sure if I'm getting, but you should definitely look out for. So, books you can look forward to hearing me talk about in future episodes for the month of February that I will be giving short reviews on are obviously Batman, Detective Comics, Dark Knights of Steel, One Star Squadron, Pirate Queen, Monster Kill Squad, because we're getting new issues of both of those soon, Superman, Son of Kal-El, Batgirls, Radiant Black, all of your Power Ranger books, I am going to finish Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes, Apache Delivery Service, and I'm sure James is going to be reading that one too. Nightwing, DC versus Vampires, Batman 89, Task Force Z, the DC Black Label series, Swamp Thing Green Hell, and of course, Until the Day They Kill It, Beast Wars. So those are books that you can definitely expect to hear me talk about this month in more detail. Now, here are some breakdowns for new series or one shots that I found that I really want to pick up this month or hear about. The first is Sabretooth #1. It's an X book. I believe it looks like it's going to be an ongoing series. But the thing you need to know that makes, I think, this book important is that Sabretooth, at the beginning of all of the new generation of X-Men books, he was one of the few mutants that actively was like, no, I'm going to continue being a piece of shit. And so the new mutant government decided, well, because of resurrection, they can't kill him because of their protocols and laws. So he is literally put into suspended animation deep inside the island of Krakoa till forever. A very just crazy punishment. So the idea of him getting out is frightening because he is somebody who's Sabretooth is going to hold a grudge. So we have that book coming out. Another is, I think this is a terrible title, but I think it's the point. It's called Excellent. It's another X book because, and as someone new to X-Men, I didn't know this, but apparently there was an X book called Ecstatics years ago. It followed a version of X-Force who then became Ecstatics, who were very fame hungry. You know, think the vibe I got from it was the real world X-Men. And so kind of a bunch of like douchey, fame hungry mutants. So apparently this book is going to deal with the old team of Ecstatics coming into with this new team of Excellent. I can't say the team name Excellent without cringing. But the
That's the
thing
point.
yeah, that's the point. And the thing that I think that this book could make it really great is I feel like it's going to have a lot to say about the changing nature of fame and how you become famous. I mean, nowadays you can become famous on, YouTube or just Instagram. Like anybody can rise up, it seems like. Whereas, formerly fame was before social media was a very different thing to acquire. So I think it's going to deal a lot with like how social media has changed the game, um, and I think that could have a lot of really interesting things to say, as most of the X-Men books have had that this last couple of years. So that's a book I'm looking forward to. #1 this month. I do want everyone to know I'm deciding if I'm going to do this or not. But the Fantastic Four Reckoning War Alpha issue comes out this month. It is a new big event they've been working on for years and years and years, and it's supposed to be a big deal. And so, if you are into Fantastic Four, this is a book I feel like is a no brainer. Next up, and I picked this book out because the lead character's name is the best name of anyone ever. The main character's name is Marcus. And of course, and it is called The Monkey Prince, which is very much derived from the idea of the Monkey King and um, the classic tale of the journey to the West. So this character, Marcus' son, is actually the child of two freelance hench people. And so he finds himself according to the synopsis, he finds himself as a new kid at Gotham City High School, where a mysterious man with pig features asks Marcus to walk through a water curtain to reveal himself as who he really is. Someone who has adventured through the journey of the West, can transform into 72 different formations, can clone himself using his hairs, and is called the Monkey Prince.
Relatable high school
Yeah.
experience.
And if if the few little thing, the little bit that I know about Journey into the West and the Monkey King is he makes the kind of superpowers that Superman has look like Superman's a chump. The Monkey King is probably one of the most powerful figures in fiction. Um, so I'm really excited to see what they do. It does look like this is going to be a very like cocky, headstrong character. I've never met a teenager like that. Um, let's see here. The next one is there are two brothers, two Nigerian brothers, and they have won a Creators for Creators grant for 2019. And their names are Shobo and Shof Coker. And they are bringing a book called New Masters that gave me a little bit of District 9 vibes with the description. They say it's a blend of science fiction, adventure, drama, and vibrant Afrofuturism in a striking vision of West Africa under the thumb of alien colonizers. A motley crew of outcasts find themselves caught up in a power struggle for control of an ancient artifact of immense power. Obviously, the District 9 idea comes from the fact that aliens showing up in Africa, but this just looks like a really, really cool way of exploring, I'm sure, colonialism in that on the continent. Um, and the fact that they won a grant to get this made and it's being published, I believe, by Image, um, is really exciting. Looks really cool. I was going to ask Tom, but Tom couldn't join us this week. I didn't realize also for my next pick, there has been a Batman versus Bigby series. He is the big bad wolf from Fables. And there's been a crossover series with him and Batman. So I wanted to see who would win this fight. But since Tom isn't here to defend himself, Batman's going to win this fight. Next up, we have a new Iron Fist series. If you have only watched the Iron Fist Netflix show, I want you to just erase that from your mind. No matter, I don't care how you feel about it, because this new Iron Fist series looks like it's a handing off of the mantle from one character to the next, because Danny Rand no longer has the power of the Iron Fist, but somebody else shows up with it. One thing that is really being pushed in this new Iron Fist series is the fact that the character does seem to be of Asian descent. Something that was it was something that people wanted for Marvel to do with their live action representation because of like the white savior narrative, cultural appropriation of the original Iron Fist stories. That was just something that could have been a really easy way to not have to do that. And Netflix and Marvel did not. But this book might be the beginning of something new and permanent if they're looking to address that in their comics. We'll see.
Yeah, I've always thought that the character of Danny Rand as Iron Fist never really felt right. I mean, regardless of whatever issues, I mean, he was, just having somebody who was worthy um, of that mantle and being Danny Rand's character, just it didn't feel right ever. It always felt like a weird role for him. I always thought that it would have been cool if like Shang-Chi took it, but kind of made sense. But you have two different IPs there, so yeah.
I feel like when there was earlier Shang-Chi movie build-up, that there was discussion and rumors that that's what was going to actually happen, was that they were going to kind of combine the characters in a way. Glad they didn't. That movie was awesome without adding that bit to it. But we'll see how they handle Iron Fist going forward, or they may just leave the character alone for a while. I don't know. We'll see. For those of us like me who are reading Radiant Black, which is basically a very modern kind of true to how people behave take on Power Rangers, which is great because it's being written by Kyle Higgins, who restarted Power Rangers for me. Listen,
For you?
or if he did it for me. He's we're
Just
we're
for
not.
you?
Yeah, he heard about me.
That's nice.
But Radiant Black, one of the cool things about it was that the characters were not perfect. They weren't role models. They were very regular people with regular, like the main character at first was just a regular guy with really regular problems who was having to live with his parents again despite his adulthood because of his own failings. And he wasn't chosen to be worthy. It was kind of an accident. And going forward, you find out that each of the characters who have gotten these abilities are kind of in the same thing, and they haven't really formed a super team a la Power Rangers. They are behaving the way people who don't know each other would behave. But Supermassive, number one, which is, I believe, going to be a standalone, is the big new crossover that's going to lead to multiple spin offs, including Red Lava Girl and Rogue Sun. Rogue Sun being much more of a supernatural book, but it's how they're expanding that universe over at Image. So if you're reading Radiant Black and you're excited for more stuff like that, Supermassive is going to be the beginning of an explosion, I feel like, for these characters in that universe. And in fact, I even have on here on my list too, Rogue Sun number 1 comes out. And just to read it to you, let's see. When New Orleans' greatest hero, Rogue Sun, was murdered, his son discovers that Rogue Sun was actually his estranged father and that he has inherited the mantle. Tasked with protecting our world from the forces of the supernatural and solving his father's murder, Dylan will be forced to come to terms with a man he spent the majority of his life hating. So there's that very human story of like being estranged from your parents, or even if you aren't estranged from your parents, just hating your parents, and then coming to terms with the fact that they're a person just like you, and that we're all people. So that's really cool. Um. Oh, I don't know if I'll probably pick up the first one and see how it goes. We're getting a new Ghostwriter series that is going to take Ghostwriter kind of back to basics as far as what they're saying. Which in the Marvel universe, sometimes back to basics, it gets intertwined in the shared universe really quickly. So we'll see. But I really wanted to get into the occult side of Marvel Comics. This seems like a great hopping on point because I believe later this year there is a Marvel Midnight Suns game coming out, which is going to deal with like occult Marvel characters in like a tactical RPG. Um, so maybe this will lead into like a Midnight Suns sort of new crossover.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have on here is Aquaman, and it's just really about Arthur Curry, the classic Aquaman, teaming up with the former Aqualad Jackson Hyde. Now, where Jackson Hyde is important to me is that Jackson Hyde is the Aqualad that was made very popular and I believe created for the animated series Young Justice. And Young Justice has been the pinnacle of DC adaptations and storytelling for some time, so much so that it got continued whenever they were able to move to their DC app and then now to HBO Max. So bringing that character up as Aqualad is really, really cool. And it's going to star the two of them together before I guess they kill Aquaman in 3 months or whatever. um, so it'll be called Aquaman -1 after that point, I guess.
Oh, sad.
So we'll see what actually happens there. But that just looks like another neat series that DC is starting up this month. And those are kind of my picks for February. You guys notice any comics or graphic novels getting released that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm a couple of years that I'm really interested in is I'm always down for a Ghostwriter series. I really like Benjamin Percy. He has been doing a really good job with the other titles that he's been working on at Marvel, and uh, it looks like they're going to be coming back with Danny Ketch, who was the ghostwriter from the '90s. the one that I remember best. I remember that was around the time whenever I was really getting started into comics, and um, yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to.
Oh,
Um,
is it on the summary? It says Johnny Blaze.
well, there's going to be some Danny Ketch in it.
Danny Kitchen there too.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I believe. But um, I'm also looking forward to Supermassive. Um, I'm really curious to see how Image is going to kind of approach a shared superhero universe with these characters. And there's also a book coming out from AWA called Primos. It's kind of a sci-fi story about a couple of indigenous characters who were able to get off planet, you know, hundreds of years ago, and uh, these two brothers end up kind of separating, and one deciding that he wants to come back and destroy the world later because his culture has been uh, basically wiped out, and the other brother is trying to prevent that. Uh, Looks like a really good book. It's got Al Madrigal who's working on it. Looks like a uh, looks like a solid book. I haven't heard from him in a while, so I'm kind of interested to see what that brings to the table.
Okay. Yeah, sweet. Oh, I'm so glad that we're gonna be reading some of the same stuff finally.
Yeah,
We'll have to have a book club.
Y'all are cute.
yeah.
Usually James
If
and I do not share tastes.
if there
So
isn't enough Danny Ketch and Ghostwriter, I'm going to be sad.
you're gonna be sad.
Oh,
I kind of hope too. I think I think it'd be dumb for them to ignore that. There's only so back to basics they can take a character and mythology like that without resetting it, and they're not resetting it. It's the Marvel universe. They've never, even when they've had a chance to reset, they did not. They backed out on it. Yeah. Meg, you check out anything this month?
yeah. There's a few graphic novels that are coming out this year in general that look interesting to me. So I found a few that were coming out just like in the one that's coming out. Well, that actually just was published in the U.S. and then a couple that are coming out in February. The first one is called Crushing, and this is by Sophie Burrows, and I think this is her debut work. I may be wrong about that, but it was actually she actually wrote it in 2019 and self-published it in the UK, and it won the V&A Illustration Awards in the UK, which is like I didn't know what that was, but apparently it's really prestigious. And so they published it this month in the US, and it looks great. I love the art. The art really reminded me of Lizzie Stewart, who I've talked about previously. I really like her stuff. It's like pencil. Why are you smiling like that?
I always enjoy watching you get nerdy the way we get nerdy, and I
What?
just see your
Oh,
excitement.
okay.
It's great.
Okay. I'm just gonna not
I'm
look at
happy
you.
that you're happy.
Well, thanks, Marcus. What a pal. Our pal Marcus. Um, but it's really pretty, and I believe it's wordless. I believe it's just all illustrations. And she self-described it as a story that explores the ups and downs of romantic interaction, lust, and longing. Born from an interest and interwoven stories within a crowd, I wanted to explore the romantic trope of eyes meeting in a crowded room and the expectations, interruptions, and misunderstandings that can arise from a glance between two people. Illustrations are very pretty. I mean, the whole thing is illustration, so that's good.
It's a graphic novel.
Yeah. So anyway, that just came out and I've been trying to find it. I actually like was on Goodreads, I think, and was trying to find stuff that I thought I would like, and I found this and I can't find it anywhere, and that's because it wasn't published in the US yet. Now it is, so
Oh,
woo.
okay.
The second one is gonna come out in February. It's called The Forest, and it's by Thomas Ott. And it's actually a graphic novella. It's just 25 pages of illustrations. It is also just illustrations. And it is about a boy who sneaks away from a family funeral, and he starts going into the forest where he according to this, confronts man's greatest fear and must choose his path, which says that's very vague. I don't know what that means, but it's very pretty and everything is done. It's scratchboard illustrations. And if you don't know what scratchboard is, it is when you take a there's a surface covered, it's just a white or colored surface, it can be colored. Um that's covered in black ink, and you use tools to kind of make delicate little scratches, and that forms the image. So instead of drawing it, you're scratching everything off. So um, I love scratchboard art. I think it's very beautiful.
Hey,
And
don't be harsh on wordless graphic novels and comics because I've had one make me cry.
oh
Like
no, they're phenomenal.
like they could like the right artist can
Yeah,
there's people
for
sometimes
sure.
when they're reading comics and graphics can forget how important the illustrations are, but years ago when Robin was killed, and I won't get into the specifics of how ridiculous everything surrounding his death was, but the following issue of Batman was a silent issue of Bruce patrolling the city, grieving, and sometimes he would see Robin like out of the corner of his eye, his son.
Ugh.
And at the end of it, he just bashes the display case with his costume in it and just grabs hold of it. And I wept like a baby.
Yeah,
So
it can be
wordless,
very
it can be a very
powerful.
powerful way to tell a
Yeah, for
story.
sure. No, I love it. I illustrations are always my draw in graphic novels anyway. So I think that I like the way that emotions are conveyed via picture. So, anyway, the last thing I'm going to talk about, also coming out in February, is it's actually a publication from 2016, but they're just now releasing the English translation. So it's just now being translated, and this is called Castaways, and it's by Pablo Monforte, and art is by Laura Perez. And this is actually the one I'm probably the most excited about. It has very, like, from the description it sounds very like Before Sunrise, that movie series. That's kind of the vibe I get from it. Maybe that's off, but that's kind of what it sounded like to me. It's about Alejandra and Julio, over the course of two characters that over the course of 10 years kind of circle in and out of each other's lives, and eventually accept that their time to be anything more than friends has already passed. I love stuff like that. It's so good. Uh, so yeah, those are my things I'm looking forward
That's so
to.
sad.
I know, I love it.
It's like the lake house,
So
but
good.
good probably.
But good. Yeah, it sounds really good. The looks very pretty.
Awesome.
Those are my things that I am bringing. I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about more, but it was stuff coming out later in the year. I got really excited about it, so y'all are just gonna have to wait.
It's hard not
Sorry.
to. As someone who already has a super long list, like I I constantly have to be like, rein it in, Marcus.
I know. I was
Um,
like, no.
but with all these recommendations, it sounds like we have a good varied list of things for you to go check out this month. And remember to go to your local comic book shop, get these on your pull list. Comic book shops rely on these sort of pre orders, but they're not pre orders you pay for. So it's not like a game situation where you're paying for something you don't have, but it lets shops know how much to order of certain things so they can get you exactly what you want. Otherwise, you might not be able to find it. So please make sure to go and give to your local comic shop, even if it's just for a single series.
Hey,
I think that's
Marcus.
really important. What's up, player?
Marcus. Hey, did you didn't happen to pick up White River Monster #1 this week, did you?
No. What is
Okay, I
that?
was just wondering. I was hoping to get a copy of it, and I didn't. Have you heard about this?
No. But the title
It's
alone is like, I'm down.
Yeah, it's the White River Monster. Have you ever heard of the White River Monster? It's from it's the White River here in Arkansas, actually.
What?
Up around Newport. There's I used to live there when I was a kid.
Cool.
There was like a patch of sand there you could go and swim in, swim in the White River, and there was all these stories about this White River monster, and apparently somebody made a comic out of it. And I had
What?
hoped to have
What?
grabbed it. I guess it just blew out of the
Oh
It
stores.
my
must have just blown out.
gosh.
But
I want one.
uh, yeah, it came out this week, and
That when you said it, the vibe it gave me immediately was of what is that other monster? It's like the Bigfoot of like Arkansas swamp.
yeah, Falk
Yeah.
Monster.
Falk Monster. Yeah.
Days
I
of Black
watched
Creek.
that the film about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I'm looking at the cover online here of this book. This monster, it's not the way it was depicted whenever I was a kid. I remember it was basically kind of like everybody just kind of drew it as like the Loch Ness monster. You could buy T-shirts and stuff with it on it, and I think that they probably just borrowed graphics from Loch Ness or whatever. But
Yeah,
this one is
probably.
actually much more unique.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Okay,
check that
yeah.
out. That sounds awesome. Find out if you can order some more. I will definitely pick that up.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank everyone so much. I guess go check out, since we're from Arkansas. See if you can find White River Monster #1, and hey, give us a message if you just want to send us a copy of that issue. We'll take it from you, no problem.
Don't forget to send pictures of meat.
And don't forget to send your pictures of meat for James to
Very
judge.
important. Specifically, your meat. As Marcus said just now.
Meg, you were having so much fun. But thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Make sure to follow us on social media and your favorite podcasting app service. That's right. Just hit a subscribe button, even on YouTube, where you can find us talking about previews and showing off visuals for a lot of the books that we talk about too. Thank y'all so much for listening, and don't forget to read what you love.